I was a 32-year-old software engineer when I met my fiancée Sophia at a charity fundraiser. We had been engaged for 8 months and were planning our spring wedding. Despite my financial success, I chose to live in a modest apartment and maintain a frugal lifestyle. That evening, during a dinner party at my place, I overheard something that shattered my world completely. I had been keeping a secret from everyone, including Sophia, that would change everything between us forever. Before I tell you how my entire relationship crumbled in one night, let me know where you are watching from and hit that like and subscribe button if you have ever discovered someone was not who you thought they were. I never planned to be wealthy. 5 years ago, I sold my startup to a major tech company for a sum that still sometimes feels unreal when I check my bank accounts. The journey from struggling coder to successful entrepreneur happened so quickly that I never adjusted my lifestyle to match my bank balance. My modest one-bedroom apartment in downtown Seattle cost me $2,000 a month, which was expensive for an average person but practically nothing compared to what I could afford. My parents raised me with solid Midwestern values about money. Dad always said money shows who people really are, it does not change them. After coming into wealth, I decided to keep my financial status private for that exact reason. Only my parents, back in Michigan, and my best friend Jack knew the truth about my net worth. I met Sophia at a charity event for underprivileged children. She was volunteering, helping organize activities while I was there as a donor. With her warm smile and genuine way with the kids, she immediately caught my attention. Sophia had chestnut brown hair that fell in soft waves around her shoulders, expressive hazel eyes, and a laugh that made everyone around her smile too. When I approached her to talk, I introduced myself simply as Quinn, a software engineer. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant where we talked for hours about everything from our childhoods to our dreams. Sophia told me she was an elementary school teacher who loved making a difference in young lives. She seemed passionate, caring, and down-to-earth qualities I had found rare in the dating scene since my financial success. As our relationship developed over the next 18 months, I fell deeply in love with Sophia. We spent weekends hiking in the mountains, volunteering at local shelters, and having movie nights at my apartment. She never complained about my modest living situation or seemed interested in material things. When I proposed 8 months ago, with a ring that was beautiful but not ostentatiously expensive, she cried tears of joy and said the ring was perfect. Our friend groups were quite different. My friends were mostly from the tech industry, while Sophia had a tight-knit group of college friends who had all become teachers or social workers. Whenever we spent time with her friends, they seemed welcoming and kind, though I had never hosted them at my place until that fateful night. As our wedding planning progressed, I frequently debated whether I should tell Sophia about my actual financial situation. I had planned to reveal everything after we were married, imagining the joy on her face when I showed her we could afford her dream house and never worry about money for the rest of our lives. Sometimes I felt guilty about the deception, but I rationalized it as protection. The money had previously attracted people who only wanted to use me, and Sophia seemed refreshingly different. The week before everything fell apart, Sophia mentioned that her college friends wanted to see our apartment and suggested a dinner party. I agreed, thinking it would be nice to finally connect our social circles more meaningfully. I spent days cleaning and preparing, wanting to make a good impression on the people important to my future wife. The dinner party started wonderfully. I cooked my specialty, a bourbon-glazed salmon, with roasted vegetables and homemade bread. Sophia had decorated the apartment with fresh flowers, and everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves. The conversation flowed easily, helped along by several bottles of wine. Around 9:30, I realized we were out of wine. I told everyone I would make a quick run to the store down the block. Sophia and her 4 friends settled into the living room while I grabbed my jacket and keys. The evening was cool with a light drizzle, typical Seattle weather. The wine shop was only a 5-minute walk, but when I arrived, the owner was already locking up. He recognized me as a regular customer and kindly reopened to sell me 2 more bottles. The entire errand took less than 15 minutes. When I returned to my apartment building, I took the stairs instead of waiting for the notoriously slow elevator. As I approached my door, I noticed it was slightly ajar. I was about to push it open when I heard my name in the conversation. So, Quinn really lives here. In this tiny place, a female voice that I recognized as Sophia's friend Amanda asked. I paused, hand on the doorknob, curious about what they were saying about me in my absence. I know, right? It is so embarrassing. Sophia responded with a giggle that sounded nothing like her usual warm laugh. Her words were slightly slurred from the wine. You should have seen the look on my face when he first brought me here. I was expecting at least a high-rise condo for a software engineer. My heart stopped. I stood frozen, unable to move as the conversation continued. How much does he even make software engineers can earn good money? Another friend asked. Not Quinn, Sophia said with a dismissive tone that cut through me like a knife. His pathetic salary is barely $80,000 a year. My cousin Travis makes more than that straight out of college. The women laughed and I felt my face burning with humiliation. 80,000 was exactly what I had told Sophia I earned, wanting to seem successful enough to be respectable, but not wealthy enough to attract gold diggers. So why are you still with him? A third voice asked. You could do so much better, Sophia. There was a pause and I held my breath. He is loyal, kind, and stable, Sophia said, her voice softer. And he has potential. His company might go public, or he could get a better job. Besides, once we are married, I can help him make better career choices. He just needs some guidance. Translation? You are going to fix him, Amanda said, and they all laughed again. What about his clothes? The man dresses like he shops exclusively at discount stores, another friend commented. I know, Sophia groaned. That is next on my list after we are married. His entire wardrobe needs to be replaced. And this apartment? We will be out of here the minute we say I do. I have already been looking at houses in Bellevue. I stood there, the wine bottles growing heavy in my hands as my fiancée continued to mock everything about me with her friends. My clothes, my car, my appearance all picked apart between fits of drunken laughter. The woman speaking did not sound anything like the Sophia I thought I knew and loved. After a few more minutes, I quietly stepped back, then made a show of loudly climbing the last few stairs and jingling my keys. The apartment suddenly went quiet as I pushed the door open. I am back. The shop was closing, but the owner was nice enough to reopen for me. I announced with a forced smile, pretending I had heard nothing. Sophia came to greet me with a kiss on the cheek, her eyes slightly unfocused from the alcohol. You are the best, babe, she said sweetly. I somehow made it through the rest of the evening, opening the wine and participating in conversations while feeling completely hollow inside. Every laugh, every touch, every glance from Sophia now seemed suspect. Had it all been an act? Was our entire relationship built on her expectation that she could fix me after marriage? After her friends left around midnight, Sophia quickly fell asleep, exhausted from the alcohol and socializing. I lay awake beside her, replaying every moment of our relationship in my mind, searching for signs I might have missed. By morning, I knew what I needed to do. Sophia woke up with a groan, her hangover, evident in her puffy eyes and pallid complexion. I had already been up for hours, having barely slept, making coffee, and mentally preparing for what would come next. My head is killing me, she mumbled, accepting the glass of water and aspirin I offered. You and your friends seemed to have a good time last night, I said, neutrally, watching her face for any sign of guilt or awareness. Yeah, it was fun. Everyone loved the food. She smiled up at me, completely unaware that I had overheard her true thoughts. I sat on the edge of the bed, trying to keep my voice casual. I was thinking we could go see a property today. I have been considering investing in real estate. Nothing serious yet, just looking. The change in Sophia was instantaneous and remarkable. Despite her hangover, she suddenly perked up, eyes bright with interest. Real estate. Like an investment property, she asked, sitting up straight. Something like that. The place is on the waterfront. Probably way out of my price range, but the agent is a friend and said I could take a look. Let me shower and get ready. Sophia was already out of bed, hangover, seemingly forgotten in her excitement. As she got ready, I gathered what I needed: my laptop, some important documents, and the engagement ring box that had been sitting in my drawer for safekeeping after the proposal. The drive to the waterfront took about 40 minutes. Sophia filled the silence with questions about the property and comments about the increasingly wealthy neighborhoods we drove through. I responded with non-committal answers, focusing on navigating the winding roads leading to the exclusive lakefront community. When we pulled up to the security gate, the guard recognized me immediately. Good morning, Mr. Walsh, he said with a friendly nod, opening the gate. Sophia looked at me curiously. You know the security guard? I have been here a few times, I replied vaguely as we drove through. The house came into view as we rounded a bend, a stunning three-story contemporary masterpiece with walls of glass overlooking Lake Washington. White stone, dark wood, and steel formed a perfect balance of warmth and modern elegance. The landscaped grounds sloped gently down to a private dock where a boat gently bobbed in the water. "Quinn, this is amazing," Sophia breathed as I parked in the circular driveway. "But there is no way you could afford this on your salary." I smiled tightly. "Let us go inside." The front door opened with my fingerprint, another detail Sophia noticed with a confused expression. The interior was just as impressive as the exterior. Soaring ceilings, custom furniture, state-of-the-art, kitchen, and floor-to-ceiling windows, capturing the breathtaking lake views. "Quinn, why does your fingerprint work on the door? And where is the real estate agent?" Sophia asked as we stood in the magnificent great room. I walked to the windows, looking out at the water for a moment before turning to face her. "There is no agent, Sophia. This is my house. I own it." Her expression shifted from confusion to disbelief. "That is impossible. You cannot afford a place like this. Stop joking around." "I am not joking. I bought this property 3 years ago as an investment. I rent it out most of the year for $30,000 a month." Her mouth opened and closed several times before she managed to speak. "But you live in that tiny apartment downtown. Why would you live there if you own this?" "Follow me," I said, leading her to the home office with its panoramic lake views. I opened my laptop and logged into my investment account, turning the screen toward her. The portfolio overview showed a net worth that made her gasp audibly. Stocks, bonds, real estate holdings, angel investments, cryptocurrency, all adding up to a fortune that put me well into the 8-figure range. "This is not possible," she whispered, staring at the numbers. 5 years ago, I sold my startup to Nexus Technologies for $68 million. I explained calmly. I have been living off the investment income ever since while growing my portfolio. The software engineering job I mentioned. I do consulting work for fun and donate most of that income to charity. Sophia sank into the leather chair behind her, her face pale. "Why did you never tell me? Why have you been pretending to be?" She trailed off, perhaps realizing the dangerous territory she was entering. Pretending to be what, Sophia? Someone with a pathetic salary and an embarrassing apartment. Her head snapped up, eyes wide with horror as recognition dawned on her face. "Last night I came back earlier than you thought," I continued, my voice steady despite the pain in my chest. "I heard everything you said to your friends about me, about my apartment, my clothes, my salary. About how you planned to fix me after we were married. Quinn, I was drunk. I did not mean any of that. My friends were being judgmental, and I was just trying to fit in with them," she pleaded, tears forming in her eyes. "No, Sophia. The alcohol did not put those thoughts in your head. It just lowered your inhibitions enough to say what you really think. Let me ask you something. If I really was just a software engineer making $80,000 a year, would you still want to marry me?" "Of course I would," she insisted, though the slight hesitation before she answered told me everything I needed to know. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the ring box, placing it on the desk between us. "I do not believe you. Our entire relationship has been based on a test, and I admit that was not fair of me. But you failed that test in the worst possible way." Sophia started crying in earnest, now mascara streaking down her cheeks. "Please, Quinn, you cannot end things over one stupid, drunken conversation. I love you. Do you love me or the idea of who you could make me become?" I asked quietly. "You mock the very things about me that I thought you respected. My simplicity, my focus on experiences, rather than material things. You were planning to change everything about me once we were married. That is not true." "Please, Quinn, I made a mistake. Everyone says things they do not mean sometimes." I shook my head slowly. "This is not about the hurtful things you said, Sophia. It is about trust and authenticity. I may have hidden my financial status, but you hid your true character. That is a much more significant deception." "So what now?" she asked, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. "Now I drive you to your parents' house, and we go our separate ways. The engagement is off." "You cannot just throw away 18 months over one mistake," she cried, standing up and trying to take my hands. I stepped back. "It is not one mistake. It is a fundamental misalignment of values and a complete breach of trust. I could never feel secure in a relationship knowing how you really see me." The drive to her parents' house was silent, except for Sophia's occasional sob. When we arrived, I helped her get her overnight bag from the trunk, but maintained my distance. "Please do not call or text me," I said as she stood on the sidewalk looking small and lost. "I will have your things from the apartment packed and delivered this week." "Quinn, please," she said one last time, holding out her hand. The engagement ring sat on her palm, sparkling in the afternoon. Sunday, I took the ring and put it in my pocket. "Goodbye, Sophia." As I drove away, I could see her in my rear-view mirror, standing motionless on the sidewalk. Despite the pain tearing through my chest, I knew I had made the right decision. Back at my apartment, the apartment Sophia had called embarrassing just the night before, I finally allowed myself to fall apart. I sat on the couch where she had mocked me to her friends and let the tears come. 18 months of memories, dreams, and plans, all built on a foundation that had crumbled in a single night. After an hour of sitting in stunned silence, I called Jack, my best friend since college, and one of the only people who knew about my financial situation. She said what Jack exclaimed after I recounted the previous night's events. "Man, I am coming over. Have you eaten anything today?" 30 minutes later, Jack arrived with takeout from our favorite Thai restaurant and a six-pack of beer. As we ate, I processed the whole situation out loud, vacillating between anger, hurt, and confusion. "I thought she was different," I said, pushing the pad thai around on my plate without eating much. All those times she talked about wanting a simple life, about how materialistic people made her uncomfortable. It was all an act. Or maybe she convinced herself those things were true, Jack suggested. People are complicated. Maybe she did love you, but also had these other expectations she was not honest about, even with herself. "That does not make it better," I replied. "Either way, I cannot trust her now." Jack nodded understanding. "So, what is next for you?" Over the following week, Sophia called and texted relentlessly. I blocked her number after the first day, but she started using her friends' phones, creating new email addresses, even making fake social media accounts to reach me. Her messages swung wildly between desperate pleas for forgiveness and angry accusations about my manipulative test. Her parents called next, her mother tearfully asking me to reconsider, her father offering to mediate a conversation between us. I politely but firmly declined. Then her friends started reaching out, the very same ones who had laughed along as she mocked me now, claiming she had made a mistake and deserved another chance. Through it all, I maintained my distance, focusing instead on rebuilding my life. I decided to finally move into my waterfront house, making it a home rather than just an investment property. I contacted a lawyer to ensure my assets would be protected moving forward. And I reconnected with old friends I had somewhat neglected during my relationship with Sophia. 4 weeks after the breakup, as I was settling into my new home office, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Quinn, please do not hang up." It was Sophia, her voice small and strained. "I asked you not to contact me," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "I know, and I am sorry, but I needed to tell you something. I went to therapy. I have been going twice a week since everything happened. I am working on myself, on understanding why I said those horrible things." I remained silent, unsure how to respond. The therapist helped me see that I have always tied my self-worth to external validation, to impressing others. My parents struggled financially when I was growing up, and I developed this fixation on stability and status. But that is no excuse for how I betrayed your trust. Her words sounded genuine, but I had thought her genuine before. "I appreciate that you are working on yourself, Sophia. That is important. But it does not change my decision." "I understand," she said after a long pause. "I just wanted you to know that what you overheard, as awful as it was, helped me confront some ugly truths about myself. Whether you believe it or not, I did love you, Quinn. Not for what you had or what you could become, but for who you are." After we hung up, I sat thinking about her words. Perhaps there was some truth to what she said, but the damage had been done. Trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to fully restore. 3 months after the breakup, I found myself volunteering at the same charity where I had met Sophia. As I helped set up for their annual fundraiser, a woman named Audrey approached me to ask about the audiovisual equipment I was testing. She was the new program director, passionate about her work and completely uninterested in status symbols or wealth. When I asked her out for coffee after the event, I told her about my financial situation on our first date. She seemed almost uncomfortable with the information, more interested in hearing about the technical challenges of my startup than the money it had earned me. With Audrey, I found a genuine connection that made me grateful for the painful lesson Sophia had taught me. 6 months on, as Audrey and I grew closer, I reflected on everything I had learned. Money does not change who people are. It reveals their true character. Authenticity in relationships means being honest, not just about your circumstances, but about your values. And sometimes painful endings lead to new beginnings that would otherwise never have been possible. The betrayal I experienced that night taught me to value transparency, above comfort truth, above pleasing facades. I learned that wealth can be both a shield and a target, and that discernment about who we allow into our lives is perhaps the most valuable skill of all. Have you ever discovered that someone in your life was wearing a mask? How did you handle that painful revelation? Share your story in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences. And remember, sometimes the most valuable things in life have nothing to do with money. Thank you for listening, and I wish you relationships built on truth, trust, and genuine connection.